I used to think I was living the right way. I worked hard, moved steadily up the ladder, had a house, a car, and a complete family. I was an engineer. People called me logical, dependable, the kind of man who never let emotions get in the way of reason. I believed in numbers, in principle, in things that could be measured, calculated, and analyzed. And things like the soul, light, or unconditional love, I called those beautiful illusions. But one day, out at sea, where I thought only waves, wind, and gravity existed, I came face to face with something that all my years of reason had never given me: truth. The question is, why would someone like me, someone who never believed in anything beyond the physical world, be the one chosen to see what no one else sees? Or maybe it was because I didn't believe that I had to experience it in a way I couldn't possibly deny. Have you ever felt like you were doing everything right, yet still felt empty inside? Ever looked around and saw that everything seemed fine, but deep down there was a quiet space no one else could see? I didn't realize it while I was living, because when you're running fast, you can't hear your soul screaming. That was me. Every morning I'd wake up, drink my coffee, go to work, handle tasks, attend meetings, solve problems, come home, eat dinner, watch TV, and go to sleep. Day after day, the same. I said I loved my family, but how many times did I look them in the eyes when I said it? I spent time with my son, but when he told me stories, was I really listening or just nodding out of habit? I thought I was a good person. I didn't hurt anyone. But now I know, sometimes indifference and absence can hurt just as much. There was a time my wife cried in the kitchen. I walked in, saw her wiping tears from her face, and asked a single question: "Is everything okay?" When she said, "I'm fine," I nodded, turned around, and left. Because I believed grown-ups were supposed to be strong on their own. I didn't hug her. I didn't say, "I'm here." I didn't stay an extra minute in silence beside her. I left her there, and I felt proud of myself for not interfering, for not making things worse. Now I understand, sometimes, cold silence can cut deeper than any words. That's how I lived. Not cruel, but invisible and numb. I used to think kindness was something that happened in big moments, saving someone, donating to charity, and standing up for justice. But I missed thousands of small moments that could have meant everything to someone. A glance, a hand on a shoulder, a quiet, "I understand." I used to think I was a good father because I provided, but now I ask myself how many times I truly sit beside my son, with no phone, no watch, no advice, just to listen to him talk about his world. I lived inside a family and still felt alone, and I made them feel like strangers, even while living right next to them. But I didn't know. I didn't mean to. I had simply never been taught how to love. I kept thinking, I'll have time, later, when I retire, when things settle down, when I'm not so busy. But time doesn't wait. It doesn't send reminders. It only takes. And that day, the day I collapsed at sea, there was no warning, no whisper from the universe saying, "This is the last time you'll ever see the sky." I had been alive without knowing I was slowly dying, dying in indifference, dying in the drought of connection, dying in the fog of not knowing why I existed. I thought I was climbing, but really, I was fading away from the core of who I was. So when I die, when my body stops breathing, when my heart stops beating, I will not be afraid. I had already grown used to feeling nothing, but what I didn't expect was that in dying, for the first time, I truly felt alive. And what happened next was something that had no place in any logical formula I had ever known, changed everything. Have you ever asked yourself, if today were your last day, what would you regret the most? In the next part, I'll tell you about the moment I left my body and encountered the most unexpected thing after death: life. It wasn't like in the movies, no dramatic music, no slow-motion scenes, no beam of light shining down from the heavens, just water. Water everywhere, in my mouth, in my lungs, in my ears, in my eyes. Cold, bitter, indifferent water. I no longer knew which way was up. My legs kicked by sheer reflex, my arms flailed in directionless panic. But the more I struggled, the deeper I sank. Everything happened so fast, there wasn't even time to be afraid. Just one thought flashed through my mind like a final command from a failing system. No one knows I'm dying. No one screamed. No one called for help. No one knew that Andrew, the engineer, had gone under. My wife was still laughing with our son on the deck, just a few feet away. They thought I was diving, playing, but I knew I wasn't coming back up. My body felt like stone. My heart pounded wildly, then suddenly slowed, like an overloaded computer freezing in place. I heard a pop in my chest. Then, silence. No more pain, no more fear. Just a strange surrender, like someone had quietly pressed pause. I was no longer a body drifting underwater. I was something else, a perspective, a presence, a point of awareness without shape. I saw my physical body floating aimlessly, eyes wide open, lifeless. I saw my wife suddenly panic, rushing to the edge of the boat. I saw my little boy screaming my name, but his voice couldn't reach me. Nothing could reach me anymore. I hovered above the water, untouched by it. I had no skin, no eyes, no breath, but I knew I had died. And at the very same moment, I felt lighter than I'd ever felt. No weight of the body, no pressure of time, no tug of war between what I should do and what I want to do. I existed in a state I can only describe as neutral, but full. The strange thing was, I didn't feel afraid. I didn't cry. I didn't scream, "I'm not ready to die." All of that suddenly felt so small, so distant, so human. I simply was. There was nothing left to prove, nothing left to chase. And then I felt something approaching, not with my eyes, but with a knowing. A movement as smooth as silk, as light as mist, yet carrying an immense spiritual weight. It didn't advance, it arrived, and that presence wrapped around me like an invisible embrace. When I was alive, I used to think death was the end, a blackout, a vanishing. But what I was experiencing wasn't an ending, it was an opening. Like sitting in a narrow room and suddenly the walls dissolve, revealing an endless sky. I was no longer Andrew the engineer, the husband, the father, the invisible man at dinner. I was a small part of something vast and merciful, so immense that I couldn't understand it, only feel it. I was lifted not by force, but by thought, a thought that wasn't mine, a voice that didn't make sound, yet carried authority and love, echoed from within me. Be still, you are coming home. Home? I didn't understand. I couldn't remember ever leaving. But somewhere deep in my soul, beyond logic, whispered back, I've known this place before. And then I saw the light. Not a blinding spotlight, but a luminous presence that didn't overwhelm the eyes. It opened the soul, like a flower blooming after the rain. The light didn't come to me. I moved toward it, though I had no feet, no body. The closer I came, the lighter I felt. Not lighter in form, but lighter because I no longer carried the fear of being rejected. I used to think I had to earn love, that I had to be exceptional, strong, and rational to be respected. But here, in that moment, I was received without condition. No one asked me, "What have you accomplished?" No one judged, "Are you good enough?" It or they just loved me, and that love undid me. Have you ever wondered what if death isn't the end, but the door to something you once knew but forgot? In the next part, I'll share the moment I touched the light and saw something I never dared believe was real, the soul. I don't remember how I arrived in that place. There was no path, no timeline, no measurable distance, but I knew more clearly than anything I'd ever known in the physical world that I was somewhere else. This place had no ceiling, no floor, no edges, and yet it was full of stillness, full of love, full of light, full of remembrance. I wasn't seeing with my eyes, I was feeling with the core of my being. That light, what some might call God or source or pure love, didn't approach me. It didn't call my name. It didn't need to ask who I was, because it already knew me in a way that went beyond language. It knew every tear I never cried, every time I pretended I was fine, every moment I sat alone at a gathering, unseen, Every hug I held back. Every "I love you, Dad" I didn't dare to answer. It knew it all, and it didn't blame me. It held all of it in a current of feeling I have no words for. All I knew was that, in that moment, I was forgiven without having to say I was sorry. I didn't hear a voice, but I heard. It didn't ask questions, but I answered. Every exchange happened without words, yet with more clarity than any conversation I've ever had. It showed me what I had forgotten, but what my soul still remembered. As if layers of dust on my spirit were being swept away. And as I became lighter, it showed me something else. A room, not made of matter, but of memory. But they weren't just my memories. They were the memories of those who had brushed against my life, even once. I saw a coworker crying alone after I made what I thought was a harmless joke. I saw my son curling into himself when I snapped at him for a small mistake. I saw my wife sitting in the car, hand on her chest, holding back tears after one of our arguments. And I stood there, not seeing my life through my eyes, but through their hearts. I wasn't judged. No one said I was wrong. No one listed my failures. But the greatest pain didn't come from judgment. It came from realizing that I had hurt the people I loved simply because I hadn't yet learned how to love. I used to believe that success meant doing my job well. But here, I understood true success is touching another soul without causing it pain. It doesn't require greatness. It doesn't require recognition. It only asks that we show up with love. I don't know how long I was there. There were no clocks, no schedules, no passing of time. Just a profound sense of being fully myself. No armor, no roles to play, no need to defend anything. And I didn't want to leave. For the first time, I felt worthy. Then the light, as if sensing that, gently imparted to me 3 lessons, not through words, but through deep absorption, like truth being etched into my being. The first lesson: love is not a feeling. Love is action, repeated daily, even when no one notices. I saw an image of myself driving my son to school, saying nothing the entire ride. I saw his eyes searching for encouragement. I saw myself passing by like a shadow. And the light helped me see love doesn't have to be grand. It just has to be present with a whole heart. The second lesson: forgiveness is not about forgetting. It's about freeing yourself from the weight of locking someone in who they used to be. I saw my father, the man I once resented, the man I had labeled unfeeling. I saw him holding me while I slept. I saw him watching my mother cry, not knowing how to comfort her. I saw his pain, his confusion, his inability to love because no one had ever taught him how. And I understood. He was just like me. We were both learning how to love, clumsily. And I forgave him, not because he needed it, but because I did. I needed to be free. The final lesson: silence can also be a form of service when it brings peace. I used to think I hadn't helped anyone, but the light showed me. The time I stopped my car in the rain to let an elderly man cross. The time I sat quietly beside a grieving friend, offering no advice, just presence. The time I handed someone a glass of water without a single word. These moments were small, unnoticed, but they were seeds planted for healing. And I broke open, not with tears, but with my soul. I had never thought of my life as meaningful, but now I see every soul is created with a purpose. And that light, it had never forgotten a single one of us. Have you ever thought you had to do something extraordinary just to be loved? In the next part, I'll tell you what happened when I asked to stay in that place and why the answer I received broke me most deeply. I thought the light was finished with me. I thought I had learned all I needed to learn. I felt at peace, light, like a leaf falling in its season. But then another movement began, soft as a breath, yet deep as the universe. I didn't know where I was being taken. I only knew this: the light wasn't just loving, it was honest. And that honesty was about to lead me somewhere I wasn't yet ready to face: my own life. There was no screen, no theater, just a space woven from memory where I was the observer, the participant, and the one affected, all at once. Every scene from my life unfolded, unsped, unedited. But the most surprising part wasn't watching what I had done. It was feeling it through the emotions of others. I saw myself at 17, telling my mother, "I don't need you to pick me up anymore. You embarrass me in front of my friends." I thought I was being independent, growing up. But here, I felt the sting of rejection in her chest, the silent crack in her heart as her son pushed her out of his world. I saw her turn away, expression neutral, but inside her, something broke. And then a sentence emerged in my mind, not in words, but in truth. No act is ever small when it touches another heart. I saw a coworker who once asked to leave early because her child was sick. I remembered myself sighing, grumbling, "There's always some excuse." I hadn't thought it was anything serious. But now I felt her guilt, the tearing feeling of being forced to choose between her job and her child. I felt the way she avoided eye contact with me for weeks afterward. I thought I was just making a casual comment. But sometimes one careless sentence can become a weight someone carries for the rest of their life. I saw my wife during one of our arguments. I yelled. I walked out. I didn't call. I went silent for 3 days. At the time, I thought I was preserving my pride. But now, I saw her sitting on the edge of our bed, clutching a pillow, eyes fixed on the door, waiting for something that never came. She didn't need me to be right. She just needed me to stay. I thought love meant winning the argument, but here the light revealed real love never leaves the one it loves alone in the dark. And that truth shattered me most beautifully. Then came a moment that made my soul catch its breath. I saw my son, still a little boy, putting together a toy with excitement in his eyes. He turned to me, glowing, and said, "Dad, look what I made." At the time, I was busy reading emails. I nodded, "Yeah, great job," without taking my eyes off the screen. I thought I had responded, but from where I was now, I saw his heart shrink. I saw a tiny light in his eyes quietly fade. And I realized he didn't need praise, he needed my presence, and I wasn't there, even though I was sitting right beside him. I wasn't condemned, no one told me I was wrong, but love itself made everything so clear and so painful. Because the light wasn't angry with me. It simply let me see what I had never seen before, through the eyes of those I loved. I was also shown the good. The moment I changed a stranger's tire without a word. The nights I held my son while he slept. The times I wiped away my wife's tears without saying anything. In the quiet moments, I slipped a donation into a homeless man's hand with no one watching. These small, anonymous acts, every one of them, were remembered, not by the world, but by love itself. And then the light gave me one last image, not a scene, but a symbol of a scale. On one side, every act I had ever done out of fear, control, or numbness. On the other hand, every act I had done out of love, even for just a fleeting second. And I saw, just one act born from love was enough to tip the balance. No one is perfect. No one is without fault. But what the light wanted me to understand was this: we are not measured by our achievements, but by the love we leave behind. I used to think life was about proving something, about achieving, about winning. But now I know life is about connection, about loving when no one loves you back, about forgiving even when it still hurts, about sitting quietly beside someone without needing to fix a thing. And I broke down, not in tears, but in the unraveling of everything I once believed was me. I was no longer an engineer, no longer a father, no longer anyone at all. I was just a soul, learning to love from the very beginning. Have you ever wondered if you could see your life through the eyes of others? What would you find? In the next part, I'll share what happened when I asked to stay, and why the answer I received changed the way I live forever. I didn't want to go back. After everything I had seen, everything I had understood, everything I had felt, there was nothing left in my old life that called me. No unanswered emails, no draining meetings, no half-hearted conversations. Here, I was loved without effort, understood without explanation. Here, I was me, whole, no roles, no strain, no defenses. I turned toward the light and whispered, not with words, but with my soul, Please, let me stay. I didn't say I deserved it. I didn't bargain. I didn't plead out of fear. I simply didn't want to leave. But what came next wasn't a yes, and it wasn't a no. It was a silence so deep it felt more powerful than any denial. A silence full of love and full of truth. And within that silence, a response rose not into my ears, but from within my being. You still have work to do. I was stunned. I answered back, not in words, but in feeling. What work? I don't have a great mission. I'm not a healer. I'm not a leader. I'm not a voice of inspiration. I lived, and I made mistakes. Isn't that enough? And the light replied with a gentleness that shattered me. Exactly because you think you don't matter, the world is missing the love that only you can give. I stood there, stunned, and then I saw them. A stream of faces, souls I had passed by, souls I had touched but never truly reached. I saw my son growing up without a father fully present. I saw my wife aging quietly, with a sadness she never learned to name. I saw friends I had turned away from, strangers I had overlooked. Each one of them carried a space that could only be filled by a kind of love that only I could give. And I understood. The work was not to save the world, not to write a book, not to make speeches or do something grand. The work was to live with kindness, moment by moment, soul by soul, as if every moment was the last chance I'd ever get to love. I bowed my head, not in tears, but in a grief so quiet it had never had a name. I was ready to return, but my heart ached, as if being torn away from a place I had once belonged to. And for one last time, the light embraced me not with arms, but with a presence as vast as the universe, and whispered, "You will not be the same man who returns." In that moment, I felt myself falling, not with speed, but with the sensation of being pulled from a sacred dream. I don't remember saying goodbye. I don't know how I let go. I only knew the light was fading, not because it withdrew, but because I was being drawn away from that level of awareness, drawn back into the ordinary. I fell through layers of light, through vibrations, through fields of emotion. I saw flashes of my family, frantic voices, the spinning red lights of rescue, and the crash of waves. Everything collided like a film being rewound too fast. Then, one heartbeat, one breath, a wave of cold against my skin. I opened my eyes. The sky above was a dull gray. The sacred stillness was gone. The light was gone. In its place, tears, shouting, and chaos. I was back. Have you ever wondered, if you touched the unconditional eternity of love itself, could you ever live numb again? In the final part, I'll share what happened as I began to live again, and why, from that day on, every small act has become a silent prayer. I couldn't explain it medically. The doctors said I was revived just in time. But no one could understand how my heart had stopped for nearly 10 minutes and my brain remained intact. No one could explain why, when I opened my eyes, the first thing I did wasn't ask where I was, but cry. Not from fear, from longing. Longing for the light. Longing for that feeling of being loved without condition. Longing for that place I called home, even though I had never known it before. I didn't tell anyone, not right away. They wouldn't understand, and I had no words. How do you explain forgiveness that needs no language? How do you describe an embrace from a being with no shape? How do you prove you lived in a place where time didn't exist? I only knew I was no longer the same. I began to notice everything as if for the first time. The sunlight filtered through the morning window. The sound of my son laughing over breakfast. My wife's face, soft and drowsy, like a flower not yet fully awake. These were things I used to rush past. Now they felt like sacred moments. No church, no sermon, just presence, real presence. I didn't quit my job. I was still an engineer, but I was no longer just a problem solver. I listened not just to clients, but to the silence behind what coworkers didn't say. I realized Sometimes what people need most isn't a solution. It's to know they're not alone. I came home earlier. I left my phone away from the dinner table. I started asking my son, "What made you smile today?" Not, "Did you do well on your test?" or "Were you good?" but his heart, his joy, his light. I learned how to be silent without being distant. I sat beside my wife, not trying to fix her emotions, just holding her hand, just being there. I used to think I was a man who loved through action, but now I understand the right kind of presence at the right time, in the right spirit, is one of the most powerful actions there is. Sometimes it speaks louder than 1,000 I love yous. I apologized to my mother, even though she never blamed me. I hugged my father, even though he looked surprised and a little awkward. I wrote a letter to a friend I had abandoned in their hardest moment. I thanked a teacher who once told me I was someone who truly listens, even though I hadn't believed it at the time. And I began sending love quietly, intentionally, as if every soul I touched was waiting for a piece of the light I had brought back. I didn't do anything grand. I didn't become a preacher. I didn't start a movement. I didn't write a book. I just began to live as if every small act was witnessed, not for reward, but to honor the light that once held me in a place beyond words. I saw people around me begin to change, not because I taught them anything, but because I became quiet. That quietness, I call it sacred service. Like the light itself, needing no shape, no declaration, no validation, just presence. At the right time, in the right way. One evening, after dinner, my son wrapped his arms around me and said, "Dad, you've been softer lately." I didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but inside, something echoed gently. This is the beginning of continuation. Now, each morning I still drink my coffee. I still read. I still go to work. But I live every moment as if it were the final scene of a beautiful film. Because I'm no longer afraid of death. I've met it. And I've learned death is not what we should fear. What we should fear is living without leaving love behind. I used to think life was a path I had to carve out on my own. Now I know it's a bridge we quietly build, brick by brick, through acts of kindness, connecting our hearts to the hearts of others. And every beam, every stone, is a moment of love we offer when no one is watching, but we choose to see anyway. I don't know how much time I have left, but I know that since that day, every breath has become a thank you. Every choice, a forgiveness. Every gaze, a quiet I see you. Every moment of presence, a sacred I'm still here. And if that light is watching me now, and I believe it is, I would only whisper this. I've come back, but this time I'll live as if every soul I touch has stood in that light too. You don't have to die to remember your purpose. You just have to pause. And to begin loving again, right from the places that feel too small to matter. Because maybe, just maybe, you've also seen something. A strange dream, a moment you escaped death, a glimpse of something that made no earthly sense. Or maybe it was just a feeling, clear as day, that once, long ago, you belonged somewhere beyond this world. If something like that has ever happened to you, even for just a fleeting moment, even if you've never dared to tell anyone, I invite you to share it. Because these things aren't accidents. You and I are meeting here, it's not by chance. Your story might be the light someone needs when they feel lost. It might be the confirmation a soul has been waiting for the one who thought they were just dreaming. It might be the missing piece for a heart that's been quietly trying to find its way back home. Leave your story below this video. Write from your heart. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to make sense. It just has to be real. I'll be reading, and so will other people just like you who are searching too. Because we weren't meant to simply survive this life. We're here to remember who we are. And that journey often begins when we dare to tell the story we thought no one would ever understand. Now it's your turn.